Hare Krishna, everyone. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jayam Udirayet
Tato Jayam Udirayet
Shinvatam Swakata Krishna
Sravatam Swakata Krishna
Punyashravana Kirtana
Punyashravana Kirtana
Hidyantasto Hiya Bhadrani
Vidyam Atam
Vidyantasto hiya
Bhadrani
bhadrani
Vidhunoti Suhrit Satam
Vidhunoti
vidhunoti suhritsatam
Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu
nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
nityam
Nityam Bhagavata
bhagavat
Sevaya
sevaya
Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke
Bhagavate
bhavati
Uttama
uttama
Shloke
shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Nayishtiki
Bhaktir
bhaktir
Bhavati
bhavati
Naistaki
naistiki
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya
krishnaya
Vasudevaya
vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Devaki
devaki
Nandaya
nandadaya cha
Nanda Gopakumaraya
nandagopa
Nandagopakumaraya
kumaraya
Govindaya Namo Namaha.
govindaya
Govindaya
namo
Namo
namaha.
Namaha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Guruji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So, right now we are studying 15th chapter. Chapter is titled Pandavas Retire Timely. Pandavas are returning from ruling the world. So last 2 weeks, we covered up to 30th verse. So for the context, Arjuna returned after visiting Lord Krishna in Dwaraka, and he is very morose. And Yudhishthira Maharaj kept on asking a lot of questions, trying to find the reason for his sadness. Finally, he started speaking, and initially he expressed his great longing for Lord Krishna and feelings of separation because Lord has left. And then he recalled many incidents favoring Pandava, specifically Arjuna, how he was undefeatable with Indra, Lord Shiva, and how he was able to win the hand of Draupadi, how they were all able to win the war of Kurukshetra, and many such incidents, how Bhima was able to kill Jarasandha. All of these were purely the mercy of Krishna. So he recalled all of those. After that, he immediately felt powerless and hopeless and felt vacuum in his life. We feel vacuum when we miss our loved ones. So the same thing because he had the affection for Krishna, because if there is no affection for someone, we never feel that much afflicted when they are gone from our life completely, right? If a devotee is your friend and you are very close to them and they leave this country and leave to go to some other country, then you feel the separation. But if you don't have any feeling of separation, then there is no question of if there is no intimate relation, then there is no question of feeling of separation. So Arjuna has that intimate feeling of separation because he loves Lord, right? Lord Chaitanya has that intimate affection for Krishna that he feels every minute is like 12 years or more, right? So we can learn from Arjuna how we should develop affection for all, for all that Lord has given to us, and how Lord has been very much key part of our own life as well. Right? So he had that intimate love. So he is missing Lord in his physical presence, the physical presence of Lord. So after feeling voidness, being a devotee, he again remembered, just like one feels the same with their spiritual master. If spiritual master is away from them, or leaves the world, the same feelings of separation can be felt by the disciple, and they feel more and more connected in that feeling of separation, and they're always in touch with the Lord or the spiritual master because of that intimate connection, soul to soul connection, right? The connection is not on the platform of body, but on the platform of soul after they are away from us. Similarly, the gopis have similar feelings of separation from the Lord Krishna, right? When Lord left Vrindavan. So Arjuna regained his composure and remembered the instructions Lord has given to him during Kurukshetra war. And through those instructions, he was able to attain balance. And now the next section begins, where we'll start in the slokas. Discuss next steps for Pandavas. So this we read already. Because of Lord's pastimes and activities, and because of his absence, it appeared that Arjuna forgot the instructions left by the personality of Godhead. But factually, this was not the case. And again, he became lord of his senses, meaning he is able to regain his composure by remembering the instructions. That was already told in the past. Yeah. Arjuna's constant remembrance of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna rapidly increased his devotion. And as a result, all the trash in his thoughts subsided. The feeling of hopelessness and helplessness. Let's read from this. This is the last verse in that section where Arjuna's feelings of separation and Arjuna's situation was explained. Vishoka Brahma Sampatya
Brahma Sampatya
Sanchinna Dvaita Samsaya
Dvaita Samshaya
Lina Prakriti Nairgunyad
Leena Prakriti Gunya
Alingatvad Asambhava.
Alingatvat Asambhava.
Please read.
Because of his possessing spiritual assets, the doubts of duality were completely cut off. Thus, he was freed from the three modes of material nature and placed in transcendence. There was no longer any chance of his being entangled in birth and death, for he was freed from the material form.
So there is no longer any chance of his becoming entangled, because all his doubts were vanquished because of his remembrance of instructions of Lord. Prabhupada explains about the knowledge of Gita and the value of it. Nishamya Bhagavan Margam
Bhagavan Margam
Samstam Yadu Kulasya Cha
Samstam Yadukulasya Cha
Swapataya Matim Chakre
Swapatamatim Chakre
Britatma Yudhishthira.
Pratatma Yudhishthira.
So from here, this verse onwards, after hearing Arjuna, immediately the next action that Pandavas should perform would be realized by Yudhishthira. So Yudhishthira would take the first course of action, being the leader of Pandavas. Yeah. So now please read.
Upon hearing, okay, you go ahead, Master.
Go ahead, Mataji. Please go ahead.
Upon hearing of Lord Krishna's returning to his abode, and upon understanding the end of the Yadu dynasty's earthly manifestation, Maharaj Yudhishthira decided to go back home, back to Godhead.
So just now, he heard Lord Krishna's departure. He understood the purpose of Lord's pastimes in the material existence is concluded. So they have come for the same purpose along with as the associate of Lord, Pandavas and many Yadus. All of them have come as the entourage of the Lord. Instead of being told directly by Lord, Yudhishthira Maharaj realized, okay, it is time for us to also leave this place. See, the devotees of Lord, they are not attached to the positions or positions that Lord gave. They struggled a lot to achieve the kingdom, but now he's completely detached. They're only attached to Krishna. So as soon as they heard Lord is not there, then he felt that there is no reason for him to continue right now. So he also decided that it is time to go back to Godhead. Continue.
Whenever the Lord likes, he can appear himself from anywhere and everywhere without disturbing his appearance and disappearance in any other place. He is like the sun. The sun appears and disappears on its own accord at any place without disturbing its presence in other places.
So Lord's appearance is like sun's appearance. It can appear and disappear. It just appears and disappears. It doesn't vanquish. It just changes the place of appearance. That's all. So similarly, along with Lord, the devotees of Lord also do the same. The Yadus that have killed each other in Maushalam pastime, they are doing the same, just like Lord. It's just the time for Lord to depart had come, so they all departed. So that will be explained little detailed in the next two verses. Yeah, please read.
Since the appearance and disappearance of the Lord and his eternal associates are transcendental, one should not be bewildered by the external features of appearance and disappearance.
So one need not go into the details how exactly Lord left the world. That appears like he was cursed, or he all those things we should not consider. Understanding that Lord's pastimes are divyam, right? Janma karma chame divyam, right? His birth, his pastimes, and his disappearance, all of them are, and activities, all of them are beyond material material understanding. It's all transcendental. So one need not be bewildered on how Lord has appeared or disappeared. One should actually accept them as transcendental pastimes.
Still, there is curiousness to know how the Lord left the world, Prabhuji, because if you look at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he simply merged into Jagannath in Jagannath Puri. But how did the Lord here live the world?
So Lord, he was after this Mausalam pastime. He stands. He goes to a tree and he's just gets on a little branch there and sits down thinking deeply. And one I think what do you call him? Vettagada means
One hunter.
One hunter, yeah. One hunter comes and he shoots arrow, and that thinking that there is a bird, and that arrow hits the under the feet of Lord, and Lord concludes his pastimes. It appears as if it is just he was hit by a arrow and he was he left the body. It's not. That is also again that hunter, the so-called hunter, was Wali in the past life, when Wali was attacked by Lord Rama from the sides. It appears people give that as the reasoning, But again, those are all material considerations that may be manifest in that way. Lord would give the opportunity for people to consider it is also like, action reaction. But the fact is, Lord is transcendental. Whatever may happen, we should very clearly understand all this is, is just part of a pastime. It's not. And apparently he left a, some physical frame. Lord has left a physical frame for which Arjuna performed rites as well. Again, all of that frame is left, Acharyas say that frame is left just to, bewilder the atheistic people, to consider them, hey, Lord is also having a body like us. Right? So, yeah.
Where is this place, Prabhuji, currently now?
This place, I'm also not very sure. It is all near, that Prabhasa Kshetra. I don't know exactly where that is located physically right now. So one thing is, devotees don't discuss a lot about Lord's disappearance past time. Even whether it is Lord Chaitanya or, Nityananda Prabhu, they're all there. But devotees don't go delve into, details of this, because that is going to cause a lot of pain in the heart. That's the reason a lot of details are not, available in the commentaries of Acharyas. But whatever is there historically in Mahabharata, that we know.
Right.
Yeah. Pratapi anusrutya dhananjayoditam nashum yadunam bhagavat gatim chatam
Yadunam Bhagavad
ekanta bhaktya bhagavati adhokshaje
Bhagavati Adhokshaje
nivesitatma parama samsrite.
Nivešitātma Paramasamskrite.
Please read.
Translation.
Kunti, after overhearing Arjuna's telling of the end of the Yadu dynasty and disappearance of Lord Krishna, engaged in the devotional service of the transcendental personality of Godhead with full attention, and thus gained release from the course of material existence.
So Kunti Maharani, she also immediately, so they are all devotees. That's what we can understand. As soon as they heard about the departure of Lord, they just want to also continue, their journey with the Lord to the next place for the service, right? So they also understood next course of action for them. Yeah.
The setting of the sun does not mean the end of the sun. It means that the sun is out of our sight. Similarly, the end of the mission of the Lord on a particular planet or universe only means that he is out of our sight. The end of the Yadu dynasty also does not mean that it is annihilated. It disappears along with the Lord out of our sight. As Maharaj Yudhishthira decided to prepare to go back to Godhead, so also Kunti decided, and thus she fully engaged herself in the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, which guarantees one a passport for going back to Godhead after quitting this present material body. The beginning of devotional service to the Lord is the beginning of spiritualizing the present body, and thus an unalloyed devotee of the Lord loses all material contact in the present body.
Here is a nice comparison of devotion service to the passport. So when you want to visit a country, you need a visa stamp, right? A visa stamp on your passport. Otherwise, the country will not allow. So similarly, beginning of devotion service is the process of spiritualizing one's physical body, and the proper execution of devotion service and purification is like passport. So that will enable us to go back to Godhead after leaving the body. So just like without passport or and the subsequent the stamp to go to country, one cannot go. So all the efforts by materialistic people for traveling to other planets is futile. Right now we hear about so many space companies, they are trying to send people to Mars. Elon Musk is trying to build a kind of a space shuttle to go to Mars. Just like Prabhupada simply puts this argument: if you want to visit America, do you need a stamp on, do you need the permit from the other country? If you don't, then how can you go to the country? Without the other people also should allow you, right? Simple logic. So the materialistic efforts on on behalf of humanity, people are trying to spend billions of dollars. They're all going to be useless based on the argument of Srila Prabhupada, right? Because the conditions required to live in a particular planet has to be bestowed upon us, and that is why there are certain yajnas in even in Vedas. If somebody wants to go to higher planets like moon or something, they have to they have to perform certain rituals and yajnas, and they will gain the required karmic balance. It's like the required credits. Then they can after leaving the body, because they need to get the body that sustains in that newer planetary system. So then they will get the required body to go and go to that planet. Without change of body, without getting the approval, it's not possible. So similarly here, Prabhupada is saying devotion service is the passport to go back to spiritual realm, right? So we may wonder when we chant, what am I developing? You are actually spiritualizing your present body. Every minute of your chanting is doing that. Every minute of you pleasing Krishna, serving Krishna, washing vessels, attending a class, hearing something, all of that is actually contributing to your credits, right? Not only direct service, even indirect services, right? So the moment you remember, you are spiritualizing your body. Remember Krishna. So Kunti Maharani, Yudhishthira Maharaj decided, and then Kunti Maharani, two people decided now so far. Yaya harat bhuvo bharam tam tanum vijaha vaja kantakam kantake neva dvayam chapi situ samam.
Samam, sorry.
Bhuvo bharam means burden to world. Let's see what Prabhupada is saying. Yeah, please read.
The Supreme Unborn Lord Sri Krishna caused the members of the Yadu dynasty to relinquish their bodies, and thus he revealed the burden of the world. This action was like picking out a thorn with a thorn, though both are the same to the controller.
So what did Lord do first? First he eliminated Kauravas. They are the real negative burden to the to the world. Then he eliminated even his own dynasty, Yadus. And the word is used is Bhuva Bharam, the burden of the earth, burden of the world. How is Yadus would be a burden to the earth? Actually, Yadus are, when Yadus are there, earth was so happy because they are the direct family of Krishna. Who would want anybody more than them, right? So Prabhupada explains, even Vishwanath Chakravarti also talks about this point, that it is like one's child may be heavy, he might be 5 or 10 kilos, but will the mother be burdened when they lift the baby or when they serve the baby? Even though it is a burden, it's an effort, still it is a what do you call, it's a burden of love, right? It's not a burden of pain. So similarly, even though it is the word burden is used, it is actually burden of love. It's not burden of pain. Second point, this action was like picking out a thorn with a thorn. What does that mean? Kantakam kantakeneva. This means when you, for example, you are walking on the road and you were, you ran into a thorn. Thorn just deeply wounded you, it stuck. And to take out the thorn, what do you have to use? You need to use another thorn, right? Because that is the only thing that can pull out the thorn. So
Yeah.
one thorn is actually, what is it doing? It is giving pain to your leg. But to relieve the pain, you need to use another thorn, right? So the thorn that is giving pain is like Kauravas. By the way, they are also children. From Lord's perspective, is just like, you have, for example, two kids. One kid is very naughty, always messes up. One kid is very obedient. Does Lord love both of them? Equally, he loves both of them. Whether you are a stupid idiot, trying to hurt your parent, or you are always obedient, following the instructions, no matter what, father loves, mother loves the child equally well, even though he might deal with them differently. So the devotees and demons are exactly the same to Lord. He is still going to feed the demons. He is still going to take care of the needs. But again, one is a thorn causing pain. The other is, the thorn that is relieving pain. So he uses one set of people to unburden, the other set of the people. He doesn't take joy in when they're getting killed. For example, you all might have read Mahabharata, talks about when Bhima breaks thighs of Duryodhana. Pandavas are happy. They got rid of this guy who caused so much pain. Krishna was watching. He is not super happy about that. Whenever any demon gets killed, even though it is done, Lord was not, super happy. He's just, because it's again his child only. If you look at from Lord's perspective, illusion and all of this is all his energy only. His view is completely different. We cannot understand from his view unless we are on the Paramahamsa platform. We cannot get there, right? So everybody is his children. He takes care of. He loves all of them. He wants everybody to be right, doing the right things. But sometimes, circumstantially, he had to punish some people. Just like, punishment could be change of body, or punishment could be wounding them or whatever, right? So he had to use, so for him, it is both are his children. So this action was like picking out a thorn with a thorn, though both are same to the controller. Both are children to the controller. Yeah, so I just summarize this. And then so you can just, this is also like summary of the entire thing. Can you read?
Yes, Maharaj. So although every living being is part and parcel of the Lord, still one who is a pinprick to the Lord is called an asura, and who is a voluntary servitor of the Lord is called a devata or demigod. In the material world, the devatas and asuras are always contending, and the devatas are always saved from the hands of the asuras by the Lord. Both of them are under the control of the Lord. The world is full of two kinds of living beings, and the Lord's mission is always to protect the devatas and destroy the asuras. whenever there is such a need in the world and to do good to both of them.
It is actually to do good to both of them. It is ultimately Lord's interest is to do good to asuras as well, so that they will transform. Sometimes the transformation comes through punishment. Yata matsyadi rupani
Yathamsyadirupani
tejahyad yatanata
Yattejahyadyatanatah
bhubhara kshapito yena
Bhubharakshapiतो yena
jahautatcha kalevaram.
Jahautatcha kalevaram.
Yeah, Dhanashri Mataji.
The Supreme Lord.
Hare Krishna, just one question before we move ahead. You said we are part and parcel of Lord, and being a Rishikesha, he actually helps satisfies all our desire. But then, where does this desire come from?
Oh, the desire is innate to the soul. Desire is an inherent property of the soul. Desire is never outside. The desire is transformed according to one's inclinations or proclivities based on his past actions. Yeah, but the desire in itself is part of nature of the soul. So we cannot be freed from desires. We can only engage in positive desires, or or try to fulfill our negative desires.
So the soul's desire, whether we are in Goloka or in the material world, it's still the same.
Yeah, so soul, being the marginal potency of the Lord, has two options: either to dominate the material energy, control the material energy, so-called control, because it cannot really control anything, but it at least feels that it can control, or on the other side can actually surrender to the super soul. It has two options: marginal potency. Marginal means like cat on the wall. Cat on the wall can jump that side or this side, right? Tatastha Shakti. So it can either surrender itself to the Supreme Lord, or it can, by nature's law in the material existence, it actually tries to dominate the material energy. But the material energy is super strong, right? It's also the energy of the Lord. So energy of the Lord is definitely stronger than individual Tatastha Shakti, right? Daivihi Yesha Gunamai Mama Maya Dhurapteya. It's extremely hard to dominate. So it tries to dominate, it fails, and it tries again and again and again. That's the reason for its continued existence in the material world. But as soon as it realizes, hey, I'm here not to control material nature, and in this way I'm only losing the battle of life and continuing my repetition of existence in the material existence, and rather surrender to a spiritual master and surrender to Guru and Krishna, take shelter of Krishna and understand the purpose of life and change the desires from being enjoyer in the world. The spirit of enjoyment is because of the desire to dominate the material energy in the material world. Right? So once that is transformed, understood based on the wisdom of Gita, wisdom of Bhagavatam, I understand one's position in totality of existence as the servant of Krishna, and then engages in actions in that spirit, then he has the opportunity to get out of this material existence. And the beginning is the change of desire. As soon as the desire from being the enjoyer to being the servant, how can I serve you? When that attitude dominates on consciousness, then he is on the track to achieve perfection of life, right? So that is the beginning of transformation of one's desires. One cannot be desireless at any moment. Prabhupada always stresses this, right? One cannot empty one's mind. It can either be filled with negative thoughts to enjoy, or even negative thoughts about oneself and depression, or filled with positive thoughts on service to Krishna, anxieties for service to Krishna, like that. So these are the options we have.
Oh, very beautiful explained. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, can I read?
Yes, Mas.
Yeah, the Supreme Lord relinquished the body which he manifested to diminish the burden of the earth. Just like a magician, he relinquishes one body to accept different ones, like the fish incarnation and others.
So Lord changed the body, and all these sages of Naimisharanya, they were stuck, like, why did Lord leave? They're absorbed in the pastimes, and they were a little bit disappointed hearing about this pastime. So to take them out of that pain, Sutta Goswami is trying to explain, just take them one level high and explain. Actually, this whole, Lord's manifested pastimes are just like an action of magician. Magician sometimes manifests something, suddenly he just opens a cap and he shows a bird, and again closes and the bird is gone. So similarly, Lord's actions in the material existence are like one of magicians. His living body, they're all, it has to be understood on a spiritual platform. It cannot be understood on material platform, right? Just like sun rises and sets, Lord also accepts different forms, like fish incarnation, right? He can change based on the need of service. He actually accepts different bodies, right? So one need not be bewildered by such pastimes.
Quick question, Prabhuji. Is the Lord going in the same body form, like for example fish incarnation? Does he go back to Goloka with the same body, or
Lord's body is transcendental, right? Karma, yeah. So he has this transcendental body, and he always, so his body is not, even though it is visible, it's not material. So only material body has the concept or idea of deterioration and disintegration in the material existence. Like our bodies disintegrate into earth, the 5 elements of material existence. But Lord, in fact, you will hear down few verses, Pandavas actually go to spiritual world, Goloka, in the same body that they had in the material world. You will hear.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. So one more thing, Prabhuji, is it like even if Lord is going back, like in fish incarnation, does he merge in the Krishna form? Like how is it like, or he remains in the fish form?
The fish incarnation is an eternal form.
So he will remain the same, right? When he go back.
That manifestation always exists, eternal exists. All the most Narsimha form is an eternal form that exists.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Lord
thanks,
also exists in these forms. Yeah.
Yeah, my son asked this question, Prabhuji. I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, that just a quick add-on to what you said. So there are separate planetary systems for each of the incarnations, right, Prabhu? Like
called Vaikunthas, yeah.
Yeah, Vaikuntha planets.
Correct, yeah. Please read. Continue.
And the magician shows by his tricks that he is cut to pieces, burned to ashes, or made unconscious by hypnotic influences. But all are false shows only. Factually, the magician himself is neither burned to ashes nor cut to pieces, nor is dead or unconscious at any stage of his magical demonstration. Similarly, the Lord has his eternal forms of unlimited variety, of which the fish incarnation, as he was exhibited within the universe, is also one. Because there are innumerable universes, somewhere or other, the fish incarnation must be manifesting his pastimes without cessation. In this verse, the particular word dhatte, eternally accepted, and not the word dhitva, accepted for the occasion, is used. The idea is that the Lord does not create the fish incarnation. He eternally has such a form, and the appearance and disappearance of such an incarnation serves particular purposes.
Yes, all these forms are eternal. We discussed the same. Yeah. Yeah, please read this line.
The conclusion is that the Lord has no material body and therefore he is never to be killed or changed by his transcendental body.
Yadha mukundo bhagavani mamahim
Yada
Kundo
mukundo
Bhagavan
bhagavani
jahau swatanva shravaniya sapkata tada hareva pratibuddha chetasam
Tada hareva pratibuddha chetasa
bhadrahetu kaliranva vartata.
Abhadretu Kaliranva
Vartata.
Vartata. Please read.
When the personality of
Go ahead.
when the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, left this earthly planet in his self-same body form, from that very day, Kali, who had already partially appeared, became fully manifest to create inauspicious conditions for those who are endowed with a pure fund of knowledge.
Poor fund of knowledge. So as soon as Lord left, Kali Yuga is about to begin. That's the junction time between Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. So immediately Kali fully manifest right after Lord has left. Right. So there are two things in the, if you remember in the 3rd chapter, as soon as Lord left the world, there was one hope given. So what was the hope in the absence of Lord to protect the religion? Anybody remembers the verse?
Bhagavatam,
Bhagavatam, yeah, very good. So I have the verse here, right here. Krishne swadhamopagate dharma jnanadibhi saha kalau nashtadrisham esha puranarko dhunodita. Please read.
This Bhagavad Puran is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana.
So as soon as Lord left the world, Bhagavad Purana immediately arisen, just like brilliant sun. Right? So the hope was this. But at the same time, Kali also. So basically what we can understand is the age of Kali is counted only by Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So in this verse, you can see Kali also started at the same time. Bhagavatam also appeared at the same time. So if you want to take shelter of, or get the protection from Kali's influence, the remedy is actually Bhagavatam, right? From that very day, Kali has manifest in the material existence to create the inauspicious conditions for those who are endowed with a poor fund of knowledge, those who do not have knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Yeah, please read.
The influence of Kali can be enforced only upon those who are not fully developed in God consciousness. One can neutralize the effects of Kali by keeping oneself fully under the supreme care of the personality of Godhead. The age of Kali ensued just after the battle of Kurukshetra, but it could not exert its influence because of the presence of the Lord.
The age of Kali ensued just after the battle of Kurukshetra, but it could not exert because still the Lord was present for few more years, about 40 years. So it was not exerting its influence. But as soon as Lord left, the influence started spreading heavily. So those symptoms were observed by Yudhishthira also in the end of last chapter, right? So for this verse, we'll just read the translation. Yeah, please, anybody?
Maharaj Yudhishthir was intelligent enough to understand the influence of age of Kali, characterized by increasing avarice, falsehood, cheating, and violence throughout the capital state, home, and among individuals. So he wisely prepared himself to leave home and he dressed accordingly.
So Maharaj Yudhishthir prepared himself. He was intelligent enough to understand the influence of Kali. Because of the symptoms, he saw the symptoms, he understood Kali is coming. So he wisely prepared himself, because it's not like he's trying to escape from the age of Kali before it comes and influences, and because he understood his purpose is done. His purpose of coming to the material world is done. He has fulfilled the mission of Lord. So they're not attached to ruling like Dhritarashtra. He was trying to just stay back even after all his children are killed. He is not like that. He has, after Vidura instructed again, he came to his senses and left the kingdom. But this Maharaj is a perfect person. So he immediately understood. You can understand how detached they are. They have the entire world in their control. All the kings are submissive to them, and unrivaled kingdom, right? And the country is also super happy. Rains and everything is happening perfectly according to seasons, right? People are so happy with his rulership, but they are not attached to one of them, any of those conditions. They are simply attached to the service of Krishna. So he is, he understood Kali is entering. It means my time on earth is over. So I have to continue my journey, right? So he wisely prepared himself to leave home and he dressed accordingly. So now is the time of renunciation. At that time, people are supposed to be very sober. Now there is no consideration of family, children, wife, nothing. Just finish his final duties, means handing of the kingdom to the next generation, and silently walk. That's it. You would see that he wouldn't even talk to his brothers. Ready to go. Yeah, continue.
Maharaj Yudhishthir was a great devotee of the Lord. There was no necessity of his being afraid of the age Kali, but he preferred to retire from active household life and prepare himself to go back to home, back to Godhead. The Pandavas are eternally companion of the Lord, and therefore they are more interested in the company of the Lord than anything else. Besides that, being an ideal king, Maharaj Yudhishthir wanted to retire just to set an example for others. As soon as there is some young fellow to look after the household affairs, one should at once retire from the family life to uplift the oneself to the spiritual realization. One should not rot in the dark well of the household life till one dragged out by will of Yamraj. Modern politicians should take a lesson from Maharaj Yudhishthir about the voluntary retirement of active life and should make room for the young generation. Wonderful.
So it's a very practical instruction. Prabhupada is talking about how one can apply in current situation. Even we should consider our own life. We should have a clear plan when, okay, it is time for me to fully devote to Krishna. Whatever it is, determine based on your specific situation and your responsibilities to your family, and and the point is one should get to a time or get to a stage where one is able to give 100% to Krishna without any consideration. Otherwise, the illusion continues and your rotation in the material world will continue forever. So this is a practical lesson for all of us, right? Just like Yudhishthira Maharaj considered about retiring from his life when he's still having full control on the world, so one should also make a serious consideration. It should be part of our own plan, right? So Even Prabhupada, even those, at some point, he had to make a call. Now, for him, his family is not very supportive of his Krishna consciousness. At the right age, he had to, take to the mission of his spiritual master. He has no other options. At some point, one has to take the call, right? That's an important consideration. We should not, okay, we'll do it. We'll continue and perform devotion service in the family. Yeah. And continue living the way we are living currently. We should not, we should prioritize giving 100% to Krishna. Then only Krishna will give his 100% to you. That's the point. If you are still attached to things, still having, okay, let me continue taking care of my grandchildren and this and that, and okay, then yeah, you will be forever in this material existence. Should seriously consider that at some point in life. Swarat pautram vinayinam
Swarat pautram vinayena
atmana susamam gunai
atmanam susanam
oyanivyaapatim bhumer
toyanimyapatim
abhyasina chad gajavyaha
abhyasine
Thereafter, in the capital of Hastinapura, he enthroned his grandson, who was trained and equally qualified as the emperor and master of all land bordered by the seas.
Now Parikshit Maharaj is being talked about. So in the Hastinapura, immediately, as soon as the next day, his action was to enthrone his grandson.
Thus, Parikshit was enthroned on the seat of Maharaja Yudhishthira prior to his departure back to Godhead. Concerning Maharaj Parikshit, the specific word used, Vinayinam, is significant. Why was the king of Hastinapura, at least till the time of Maharaja Parikshit, accepted as the emperor of the world? The only reason is that the people of the world were happy because of the good administration of the emperor. The happiness of the citizens was due to the ample production of natural produce such as grains, fruits, milk, herbs, stones, minerals, and everything that the people needed.
Everything was nice because of a pious king. Generally, if the king is pious, the kingdom is leads a happy happy life. People of the kingdom, because the demigods are pleased by the actions of the king, and so naturally there is natural support for the kingdom. So people are very happy at that point. Please read, Prabhu.
The influence of the age of Kali gradually infiltrated the good qualities of both the kings and the citizen, and therefore a tense situation developed between the ruler and the ruled. But still, even in this age of disparity between the ruler and the ruled, there can be spiritual involvement and God consciousness. That is a special prerogative.
Mathurayam tata vajram.
Mathurayam tatha vajram
Senapatim tata. Rajapatyam nirupye strim.
Rajapatyam
Ishvara.
Then he, yeah, go ahead, Mataji. Then he posted, I don't know. Okay, Mataji, go ahead.
Yeah.
Then he posted Vajra, the son of Aniruddha, grandson of Lord Krishna, at Mathura as the king of Surasena. Afterwards, Maharaj Yudhishthira performed a Prajapatya sacrifice and placed in himself the fire for quitting household life.
So immediately performed Prajapatya sacrifice. So to leave household life. So by the way, when he was doing this, he didn't even inform Draupadi. It's understood. Everybody understood what is happening, and yeah. Go ahead, continue.
Maharaj Yudhishthira, after placing Maharaj Parikshit on the imperial throne of Hastinapura, and after posting Vajra, the great grandson of Lord Krishna, as the king of Mathura, accepted the renounced order of life.
Yeah, so immediately accepted. Yeah, please read. This is a summary of this.
Everyone's life must be so arranged that the last stage of life, say at least the last 15 to 20 years prior to death, can be absolutely devoted to the devotional service of the Lord to attain the highest perfection of life. It is really foolishness to engage oneself all the days of one's life in material enjoyment and fruitive activities, because as long as the mind remains absorbed in fruitive work for material enjoyment, there is no chance of getting out from conditioned life or material bondage.
This is a practical lesson for all of us. We should make an active plan to focus on Krishna 100%. Yeah. Visrijya tatra tat sarvam. Tukulo valayadikam.
Tukulo valayadikam.
Mamo nirahankara. Sanchinna sesa bandhana. Yeah, please read.
Maharaj Yudhishthira at once relinquished. Go ahead, Mataji.
At once relinquished all his garments, belt, and ornaments of the royal order and became completely disinterested and unattached to everything.
So that is possible for a devotee. Sanchinnasesa bandhana. At once, because the devotee's heart is always attached to Krishna. It was never attached to material things. As soon as the appropriate time came for him to retire, it was not a burden for him, because his heart is already detached fully. So he was able to, at the right time, take the decision and action to enthrone his grandson, as well as give up all his royal garments. He's now going to, he was wearing golden helmet, golden bangles, very rich ornaments of royal order. In the next moment, you will hear that he's going to wear a torn loincloth. So that is the change he's going to take right now. But because of his strong detachment, he is able to do it without any burden to the heart. Right? So when we think about our own life, on at the time when we want to retire from our material responsibilities, which we should do if we really want to go back to Krishna and serve him. So we need to develop that kind of detachment, and it should be we cannot do when you are about that age. You have to train from now. Okay, you have to plan your life. Next 10 years, I need to settle these things, and this is the way to take care of family, kids, or whatever. And then you need to plan accordingly. It cannot be a planless life going forward. If you plan, Krishna will support your plan. because it is a plan to ultimately serve Krishna, right? So Krishna will support your plan for sure. But you need to have a plan. If you think, oh, it will go on, I'll go to temple, I'll chant, I'll do some service, and you think, it will work out well in a way that, that is, it's not. So we need to plan, right? We'll still be attached after, you're almost 60, 65. You're still going to be attached if you don't plan. Yeah.
Foolish people adore such men who die in national consciousness. But here is an example of Maharaja Yudhishthira, a royal king who prepared himself to leave this world without such national consciousness. And yet he is remembered even today because he was a great pious king, almost on the same level with the personality of Godhead, Sri Ram.
Yeah. Prabhupada is talking about, people like the freedom fighters who are national conscious at the time of death. So such things will not save us. We should live like these pure devotees, like Maharaj Yudhishthira, who are fully Krishna conscious at the time of death. Let's read, they're all similar line. Yeah, please read this next translation. We'll have to complete 5 more verses. Yeah.
He amalgamated all the sense organs into the mind, then the mind into life, life into breathing, his total existence into the embodiment of the 5 elements, and his body into death. Then, as pure self, he became free from the material conception of life.
Conception of life. Yeah. So it appears this is yogic way of if you look at the second canto, there is description of how material existence created. There, the beginning is pradhan, the material total energy of the Lord. From pradhan, when it is agitated, the mahatattva forms. From mahatattva, the false ego is formed. False ego, and then combination with the 3 modes, the 24 elements, or the 24 elements of material existence, all the 5 senses, karmendriyas, jnanendriyas, all those are formed. So in this way, the creation is explained from how the pure material energy, it transforms into specific elements of material existence. And for all of this, the sound is the source, right? So that is all explained in second canto. So now they rewind. See the reverse of this, when the elements go back to the material totality, the reverse is applied. So the senses get merged into the 3 modes. The 3 modes get into false ego. False ego goes back to pradhan. We'll understand this part very well when we go to second canto. But here, understand that it is what here is explained. In one way, you can understand this. The mind is this central point for all the senses. When mind is focused on Krishna, all the other sensory activities, the actions of your hand, leg, nose, ears, eyes, all of that is vanquished, right? The total focus of mind is on Krishna, the spiritual, right? So it's like reversing. So right now, the jiva is all outward focused. The senses are all engaged in various ways with the elements of this material existence. Now, when the senses are withdrawn from all of that and focused on the spiritual reality, right? So the mind, instead of focused on the material reality, turned towards Krishna and focused on spiritual reality. That is the reversal process, right? Ideally, we should do that when we chant. We should totally absorb in Krishna, right? So the 2 hours should be like 100% Krishna. But at least at the time of death, Yudhishthira Maharaj is trying to do this. He is trying to put, he's just trying to reverse his focus from everything in material existence to completely on the Supreme Lord, right? He amalgamated all the sense organs into the mind. Means the senses are all, mind is like coordinating sense attached to all these other senses. It gains all the external information, knowledge, all of that. Now that whole mind's focus is on Krishna. It's not on the sensory objects. That's what amalgamation here means. Right? Then the mind into life means it's on Krishna. Life into breathing, his total existence into embodiment of 5 elements, and his body into death. He's just focused on Krishna 100%. He forgot his self existence, that is death, right? Then as pure self, soul, he became free from the material conception of life. Yeah, Prabhupada explains here in this paragraph. We'll not read it.
Actually,
Yeah. Here, can you read the translation again?
thus can
Annihilating
the cross body of the 5 elements into 3 quantitative modes of the material nature. He merged them in one instance and then absorbed that instance in the self Brahmana, which is inexhaustible in all circumstances.
Yeah. So he merged all the elements. This appears like yogic way of saying it, but he is totally absorbed in Krishna. As per Prabhupada's explanation in the purports, this is just the exact reverse of the process of creation. It's just going backwards, putting mind on Krishna, right? That is how a devotee does it. Yeah. Please read.
Maharaja Yudhishthira, after distributing his kingdom to Parikshit and Vajra, did not think himself emperor of the world or head of the Kuru dynasty. This sense of freedom from material relations, as well as freedom from the material encashment of the gross and subtle encirclement, makes one free to act as the survivor of the Lord, even though one is in the material world. This stage is called Jivana stage,
or the liberated stage,
even in the material world. This is the process of ending material existence. One must not only think that he is Brahman, but must act like Brahman. One who only thinks himself a Brahmana is an impersonalist, and one who acts like Brahmana is the pure devotee.
Prabhupada is saying actually devotees act on the platform of soul. So that is more important. We engage in Krishna service because Krishna, we understand, is the absolute spirit. The jiva is the conditioned spirit. And we engage in direct devotion service, which is spiritual nature, right? So being a Brahman, one should engage in the service of Supreme Brahman, right? The impersonalists, those who do not accept the personality of Krishna, they are on the theoretical platform because they don't engage in the service of the Supreme Brahman, right? So that is the piece lacking in impersonalist approach towards perfection of life, right? Because there is no practical action towards, it's all on the mental platform. Mental is material. Mental is not spiritual. If you offer something to Krishna, that is spiritual because you are offering to Supreme Spirit and it's an action. The act of offering becomes a sacrifice. So in devotion service, one has the opportunity to actually engage spiritually. You see, you might not have realized. Many people do not understand this aspect. In devotion service, one has the opportunity to act on the spiritual platform. They get to hear about the absolute truth, which is highest spiritual existence. They get to serve absolute truth, which is the highest spiritual existence. They directly deal with the absolute truth, which is the highest spiritual existence. So therefore, all actions are purifying, right? Impersonalists do not have that option because they do not accept the personality of Godhead. They do not engage in the service of the higher spirit. And so they're always on the mental platform, or maximum mental platform, because whatever they do is, the jnana, the process is all on the mental platform. And mental is material. Mental is not spiritual. Mental platform is material platform. And so they're not engaged spiritually. So their understanding is all going to stay empirical or theoretical. Theoretical, not empirical. Ours is empirical. Empirical means action is there, right? Yeah, so let's read the translation here.
After that, Maharaj Yudhishthira dressed himself in torn clothing, gave up eating all solid foods, voluntarily became dumb, and let his hair hang loose. All this combined to make him look like a urchin or madman with no occupation. He did not depend on his brothers for anything, and just like a deaf man, he heard nothing.
See how much transformation happened in Yudhishthira Maharaj. Couple of days ago, he was the king of the world. Now he's ready to give up everything. As soon as he heard Krishna completed his pastimes in the material existence, he just gave up solid. He's in health. He's in good health. He was taking care of the entire kingdom and citizens and everything. So many departments, so many kings under him, not attached to any of that. So that is the test of pure devotee. So he was able to just give up all of that with no occupation, and he gave up his own gold on his body. Everything. He just wore simple loincloth, right? And it's also torn. And as if he was a deaf man, meaning he's not listening to anyone now. He has no consideration of, hey, he is my brothers, four brothers. He's a great devotee. They are great devotees. No consideration of all of that. Just got detached from everything and everyone, right? Just like how Prabhupada left his family completely, never looked back. Suddenly, all of a sudden, he was doing business. He's having this pharmacy, and he had a call from his spiritual master, and then initially he hesitated. How can I give up all of this? But then his spiritual master appeared again and again, and then one day he had this higher mission. He just embarked on it. Continue, Mataji.
He had no dependence on his brothers who had all along been helping him. This stage of complete independence from everything is also called the purified stage of fearlessness.
This fearlessness comes because of what? How is he so fearless and gave up everything, whatever he had? We are in the middle. If you take our case, if we have to give up our job, give up our home, give up our family, we have that fear, so much fear. How will things move on from here, from tomorrow? If you think about it, what is that is causing that fearlessness in him? Anybody?
It is Krishna's power, Krishna's dependence fully on Krishna. He will provide everything.
He will take care of them. He will take care of me. My duty is to surrender to him. Right? I have nothing to, my duty is done. Now I'm complete. I want to completely give my 100% to Krishna. So he was in a complete fearless state. Yeah, please read this one.
He then started towards the north, treading the path accepted by his forefathers and great men, to devote himself completely to the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he lived in that way wherever he went.
So he wanted to fill his mind with Krishna. So just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go around in the Jharkhand forest and to South India, everywhere, he would sing Krishna, 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 Mam, Krishna, 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 Raksha, Mam. Like that, he would just depend on Krishna and go around everywhere. So similarly, Yudhishthira Maharaj filled his mind with Krishna and just wanted to not consider anything else in life. Just he wanted to go around, right? He completed his duties, he completed his responsibilities, he set up the country with the next ruler. One way or the other, right? One way or the other. Not everybody is so lucky to have a great grandson like Yudhishthira Maharaj. For example, what was that king whose son was Vena? What is his name? Remember? So he is a great devotee, but he got a bad son, Vena. And that Vena caused him to be detached from kingdom and everything. And he thought, okay, this is the reason Krishna has arranged for me to be detached from my family. And in the middle of nowhere, he just leaves the country. What's his name? I forgot. Anyway.
Maharaj Anga.
Anga, yeah. King Vena's father. Maharaj Anga, he did a great sacrifice, and as part of that, he gets a son, Vena. And one would wonder, how come when a sacrifice is performed, a son that is born out of it becomes a very irreligious person? And that Vena turns out to be a very irreligious person. He would just, in the course of playing with children of his age, he would kill them. And his father was so frustrated with his way of behaving and living in this world. He got so frustrated with everything material. And at one point, he just gives up the country and goes. He realizes, okay, maybe this is all the arrangement of the Lord for me to stay detached from it, material existence. One way or the other. In this case, Yudhishthira Maharaj had a great grandson who was, able grandson, Parikshit Maharaj, who was able to rule the country very well. But he's satisfied fully. He has done his responsibilities. He has served Krishna. He had taken care of his family, brothers, had now handed off the kingdom to the next generation. No attachment. Not like today's politicians who want to stay till the death in the political ranks. So he just did all his and then wanted to completely give 100% to Krishna. Yeah, please read.
No king or respectable gentleman would continue family life till the end, because that was considered suicidal and against the interest of the perfection of human life. In order to be free from all family encumbrances and devote oneself 100% in the devotional service of Lord Krishna, this system is always recommended for everyone because it is the path of authority. The Lord instructs in Bhagavad Gita 18:62 that one must become a devotee of Lord, at least at the last stage of one's life. A sincere soul of the Lord like Maharaj Yudhishthira must abide by this instruction of the Lord for his own interest.
See, this is an exclusive effort to 100% take shelter of Krishna. So this is a lesson for all of us. We should have this plan in mind. I want to at some point give my 100% to Krishna, right? Whatever way it is. Yeah, please read. Continue,
The
Mata.
brothers of Maharaja Yudhishthira observed that the age of Kali had already arrived throughout the world, and that the citizens of the kingdom were already affected by the religious practice. Therefore, they decided to follow in the footsteps of their elder brother.
The brothers of Krishna, Yudhishthira Maharaj also followed. Yes, Dhanashri Mataji, you have a question?
Yeah, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. So the Nama has the all potency of the Lord. What potency are we talking about?
In specifically which line you are referring?
Oh, no, not a specific line in general, like in this Kali Yuga, especially at this age, all the potencies of the Lord is in the name.
Correct.
So can you explain like what energies or potencies are we talking about?
The potency of holy name, you mean? What is
yes. Yes.
So the holy name is non-different from Krishna. So it is equivalent to the direct spiritual energy of the Lord, right? So specifically, it is the internal potency, the Hladini potency of the Lord is the holy name. So through name, form would be established at some point, right? So Nama, Rupa, Guna, right? So through Nama, when we chant the holy name, in the beginning, it is just like a word, just like regular words, like any other word. But as our mind gets purified, the mind right now is filled with so many negative impressions of the past, right? Vasanas. As the name reverberates throughout your mind fully, it's like sun lighting up from the dark sky. The night is dark. Suddenly when sun rises, what happens? Everything is like, you can see everything very clearly, right? Until the sun is arisen, you can't see anything. So similarly, when the holy name lights up your mind, all the dirt and dust from your mind will vanquish. All the negative, sinful reactions and all of that will. So as the potency expands in your mind, then you are fully engrossed in Krishna, right? It develops over a period of time, but that is the potency of holy name, right? Nama will reveal the Rupa of the Lord, right? So at some point in your mind, you can clearly see the form of the Lord. It's called, it's not physical form, it's the mental form, not mental actually, spiritual form seen in the mind. Spiritual form is spiritual, seen in the mind, right? If you read the prayers of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whenever they refer to the form, it's actually the spiritual form in the mind. It's not the physical form. Yeah. So Nama is revealed, and then gunas are revealed. How Lord is magnanimous. Right now we sometimes remember how Lord is gracious, kind, very tolerant, and very loving. All of that we remember only when we hear certain pastimes, but that becomes your second nature when you are fully absorbed in holy name, right? So Nama, Rupa, Guna, right? And Leela. Leela means his pastimes are always manifest in your mind. Means his various Leelas. You are like part of his Leelas, right? You would suddenly go, Nanda Maharaj, where are you? You would say like that because you are already in that pastime. So that is the advanced level, right? But anyway, we are too far from there. So, but the beginning is purifying your mind. That itself will give Shubhada, right? And Kleshagni. Kleshagni means relief from all anxieties. Shubhada means auspiciousness in your life. That is the first manifestation of the power of the holy name. Right?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
There are heights. We'll discuss that later. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, please read. Sorry, I'm skipping a little bit. I wanted to complete this before. 3 more verses. Can anybody read?
They all have to perform all the principles of religion, and as a result, rightly decided that the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna are the supreme goals of all. Therefore, they meditation upon his feet without interruption.
So everybody is clear. Lord is the supreme goal of life. We are also trying to follow in their footsteps. They meditate upon Lord, right? Yeah, please read. Continue, Prabhu.
Thus, by pure consciousness, due to the constant devotional remembrance, they attain the spiritual sky, which is ruled over by the Supreme Narayana, Lord Krishna. This is attained only by those who meditate upon the one Supreme Lord without deviation. This abode of the Lord Sri Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavana, cannot be attained by a person who are absorbed in the material conception of life, but the Pandavas, being completely washed off all material contamination, attained that abode in their very same bodies.
Wow. See here, they attained the Golok Vrindavana in the self-same body. Do you all remember anybody else who attained in the recent times in the same physical body to Vaikuntha?
Tukaram Maharaj.
Maharashtra. Yeah. So Tukaram Maharaj did the same thing like Pandavas did. So before everybody's eyes, Tukaram Maharaj was lifted in a spiritual airplane directly to Vaikuntha. Vittal, right? So here we have Puranas speak the same. We have real evidence from recent past. So the shelter, if you should watch the movie of Tukaramji. It shows, if you last few instructions that he speaks are very powerful. When he was informed that he has to, now it is time for him to go to Vaikuntha, and he would just take a quick bath and he would come back, and as his final instructions he will tell to his to people who he was close by in those days, just keep the holy name on your mouth, and that is the only shelter. There is nothing higher. Muhme naam, muhme Krishna ka naam, you have Vaikuntha in your hand. That's what he says. And then chanting the name of Vittala, within few minutes, he would board the airplane and then he will go back to Krishna. It's amazing. You should watch that short part of that video. Very touching. So Pandavas did the same. So we have evidence from Puranas as well. Yeah, and then now departure of various other devotees here. So we have heard about Yudhishthira Maharaj and the rest of the Pandavas. Kunti Maharani also left at the same time. Fully everybody did the same thing. The common thing is they all absorbed in Krishna, thinking about Krishna. Yeah. Please read. Continue, Prabhu.
Vidura, while on pilgrimage, left his body at Prabhasa. Because he was absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna, he was received by the denizens of the Pitraloka planet, where he returned to his original post.
See, Vidura is a demigod who was Yamaraj. He returned. There are people from other higher planetary systems that have come to be part of Krishna's pastimes. So one of them is Vidura. So he went back to his service. Pandavas came from spiritual world. They returned to Goloka. Vidura came from Pitruloka. He is a Mahajan, right? Vidura is Yamaraj is a Mahajan, one of the greatest devotee. And he returned to his planet because he has unfinished work before he goes back to spiritual world. So Yamaraj, that is explained here. I will not read it. Yeah, please read this online. It is good.
The Lord and his personal associate incarnates in many universes without cessation. The Lord remembers them all, whereas the associates forgets due to their being very minute parts and parcel of the Lord's. They are apart to forget such incidents due to being Sorry, Prabhuji, I couldn't read that.
The infinitesimal. So jivas are infinitesimal. They forget, but they are all associates of the Lord. So naturally they forget, but they always come when the Lord comes. They serve Lord in various ways, and they return to their duties. So Pandavas, Kauravas, Vidura, all great devotees, right? They're all done. Now Draupadi's turn. Draupadi. Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu, continue.
Draupadi also saw that her husbands, without caring for her, were leaving home. She knew well about Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Both she and Subhadra became absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna and attained the same results as their husbands.
So they also left the world. So here is an interesting point Prabhupada makes. I want you to read.
Yeah. When flying an airplane, one cannot take care of other plans. Everyone has to take care of his own plane, and if there is any danger, no other plane can help another in the conditions. Similarly, at the end of life, when one has to go back home, back to Godhead, everyone has to take care of himself without help rendered by another. The help is, however, offered on the ground before flying in space.
So on the ground, you will have so many people helping the plane, various things. But once you start flying, you have to fly your own airplane, they say. So these are very critical last moments of their life. Everybody fully absorbed their mind and they're focused on Krishna, and nothing else matters for them. They're going back to Godhead. So when this is happening, Pandavas are doing this. They didn't even inform Draupadi or Subhadra, but they understood. They didn't cry in vain and lived their rest of their life crying for their husbands. They actually understood their next duty, which is to remember Krishna like their husbands and attain the same results as their husbands. Right? Perfect. See, this is what Krishna conscious should make us. We should not be like materialistic people. When we get to this stage of life, we should also act like these devotees. That is the lesson we have to learn. Otherwise, this is not just just for reading for those great devotees. It is about us, how we deal with our own life. When we go through these challenges or at the right age, we need to also take such calls. Full absorption on Krishna is the critical principle at any stage of our life. Yeah, last verse, please read.
Sure. The subject of departure of the sons of Pandu for ultimate goal of life, back to Godhead, is fully auspicious and is perfectly pure. Therefore, any who hears his narration with the devotional faith certainly gains the devotional service of the Lord, the highest perfection of life.
This is called Falashruti. Just by reading, we could understand the devotion of the 5 Pandavas, their mother Kunti, their uncle Vidura, their wives Subhadra and Draupadi. Just by hearing about their focus and their dependence and their absolute faith in Krishna, whoever hears this narration, therefore anyone who hears this narration with the devotional faith certainly gains the devotional service of the Lord. So we are all going to be bestowed. Krishna has bestowed, he's going to bestow devotional service on all of us. Whoever have taken, heard these pastimes with full faith in Krishna, right? And thus we achieve the highest perfection of life. That is the Falashruti of this chapter. Yeah, so we ended this chapter. So we discussed from the beginning, after Arjuna concluded his speech, he composed himself by remembering the instructions. Immediately, Yudhishthira Maharaj understood his immediate next action, and he completely detached himself from his kingdom and all the responsibilities. He enthroned his grandson Parikshit Maharaj to be the next king. He understood that Kali now started influencing the middle world more and more, and he gave up everything, and following him, all his brothers followed in the same path, and his mother Kunti, and then his wives followed the same. So they all have one thing in common, which is full absorption in Krishna. They understood that their time had come now to leave the world with complete detachment. They actually focused on Krishna and attained perfection. And whoever hears this pastime will also attain full faith in Krishna and devotion service to Krishna. That's the end of the class and the chapter.
I have one question. So Pāṇḍava, there was another story where Pāṇḍava went to Himalaya, and then from there they went to Svargalok, and then they meet Krishna there.
That is, yeah, I know, Mahabharata. Mahabharata explains slightly differently than here, the explanation given here. But Vyasadeva, Mahabharata, the purpose is slightly different. So what we consider as the last scripture and the final instruction is this Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. So that is explained, Mahabharata is explained primarily for people to perform duty, especially kings, right? They are more enamored with Shvargaloka than spiritual realm. But this is, we know they are pure devotees. They understand that, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita that can be only taught to a pure devotee, Arjuna. So we know very well the position of Pāṇḍavas.
Yes.
Mahabharata context is, Pāṇḍavas are great pious kings, and how to, how to rule the country the whole purpose is different. And so the explanations are given in a way that is understandable to the audience of Mahabharata. Even the same author had written, that is the best thing he can give in such book. But here it is purpose driven. Everything surrounds Krishna and Krishna's devotion. So all the topics, surround that focus.
Yes.
So here it is explained for pure devotees. So that's why Mahabharata is Amalam Purana. It doesn't have that Malina that other scriptures have, right? Where they prize even pious activities, right?
Got it. Okay, bro. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Anything else? Thank you all very much. Thank you for wonderful participation. Just take 1 second. I'll take the attendance.
Prabhuji, one more question. So where this happened, Prabhuji?
Which one? This is in Indraprastha.
Okay.
That's where he was ruling country. Anandram Prabhu, Devi Radhamataji, Kausta Prabhu, Rani Sita Pritina. Mataji is, I think she's not there. She told she will hear afterwards, and I'll change it later. Chandra Mataji, are you there?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Sri Vidya Mataji? 1 second.